Coming up, we have a lovely interview with the writer and cast of new TV series, A Kind of Spark. It's based on the award-winning debut novel by Elle McNicol, who wanted neurodiversity to be at the heart of the story. That's after she was diagnosed with autism at the age of 9. It's now been adapted into a CBBC drama series, and the 3 lead roles are all played by neurodivergent actors. A Kind of Spark interweaves the past and present in 10 action-packed episodes full of the joys of friendship, sisterhood, mystery and magic. It tells the inspirational story of an autistic teenager, Addie. When she learns about the witch trials that happened centuries ago in her hometown of Juniper, Addie knows that there's more to the story of these witches, just as there is more to her own. Her desire to be herself becomes entwined with the historical mystery of Maggie and Elinor, 2 sisters who lived in the 16th century. Maggie was accused of witchcraft and mysteriously vanished before she could be brought to trial, while Elinor struggled with her true self. As Addie tries to unravel what happened to Maggie, she discovers an even more surprising connection to Elinor and embarks on a journey of self-discovery while campaigning for a memorial in Maggie and Elinor's honor. Can Addie challenge how the people in her town see her and make her voice be heard? Addie is a girl on a mission, smart, determined, and with a strong moral compass. Nothing can stop her. Addie's older sister Keedie is funny, outspoken, and fiercely protective of her little sister Addie. She's also autistic and is usually loud and proud about it, but this school year she has chosen not to share this information with some new friends. Keedie seems strong and sure of herself, but she has a vulnerability that will become increasingly clear across the episodes. Addie's other older sister and Keedie's twin, Nina, is neurotypical. She is popular, has her own makeup tutorial vlog, and is very concerned about her brand and being perfect. She loves her sisters, but often feels excluded from their special bond. Audrey recently relocated from the city to Juniper, where her mum was raised. Confident and unapologetic, she becomes a great loyal friend to Addie. But since arriving in town, she has been feeling a bit weird and discovers she's connected to this town more than she knew. The series is coming to BBC iPlayer on the 31st of March and CBBC from the 17th of April. Let's see the interview now.
Author Elle McNicol, alongside stars of the TV adaptation Lola Blue, Georgia D. Gidlow and Caitlin Hamilton. Morning,
Morning,
all of you.
everyone.
Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us. Elle, if I could start with you, why did you feel there was a space, there was a gap when you started writing the book?
Well, I felt there was especially a gap for neurodivergent girls. When I was young, I knew I was different, and there was no conversation about what that meant. Knowing that you're neurodivergent was just something that happened, and you never spoke about it again. And I would have loved a television show like this, or a novel that not only explained what it was like to be a neurodivergent girl, but had mystery and adventure and had great representation.
Let's talk about that word neurodivergent, because that
it's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. What does that include?
For me, it's being autistic and dyspraxic. It can also be ADHD. It can be dyslexic. It can be, dyscalculia. It's something that's very talked about in schools at the moment, but not so much in media. So that would be great if we could change that.
Lola, tell us about, I'll ask each of you to tell us about the characters, because they're all very different, aren't they? But you play Addie, don't you? Tell us a little bit about who Addie is.
So Addie is passionate, she's warm, she's caring. So she's just so in the series, she's just starting a new school.
And how does the neurodivergent element come into this? Because what will we learn from Addie watching this TV show?
Well, I think for me, I've learnt so much just from playing Addie and just from, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Addie's quite hyperfixated on the witches, and that's the story of the show.
Go on, tell us about the witches then. Better explain that to people.
Well, obviously the Salem witch trials happened, and a lot of women were persecuted for being different. And the kind of storyline is that was not okay to persecute women for being different then, and it's not okay to judge people for being different now, as Addie says in the show.
And it's interesting, the conversation about being different. I imagine from what you're saying, Elle, that like in the past, people who did feel different at school, in the playground, really didn't want to be different and would hide it. So this show, I think, is almost celebrating it. Is that how you feel? And how does that work?
Absolutely. I think for me personally, growing up with a show like this would have been an amazing opportunity. I was undiagnosed with autism for the majority of high school, and so I got diagnosed at 17, which is quite late on really, and to see something like this and see myself represented in a media platform, I think would have really helped.
And how, when you were at school, what did that mean for you?
I think it was everything. I wanted to be seen, I wanted to fit in. I think like everyone does when they're a teenager, and to feel different and not really know where you belong is quite an isolating experience. And so, yeah, to have like a experience that you feel you can connect to with other people would have meant the world.
And Elle, when you were writing this, is it your school experience that is in the show?
A lot of it is, yeah. I had a really tough time at school. I had a really tough time socially. A lot of teachers maybe still not fully grasping what it meant to be a neurodivergent girl. So a lot of that is in the show, and a lot of that is from real life.
So what happened to you at school? Because reading about some of it's really quite extreme, isn't it?
Yeah,
Got
it's
into
difficult.
trouble.
It's difficult, and I always maintain as a children's author when I go into school that school is one of the hardest times for neurodivergent kids, for autistic kids, for kids with learning difficulties. It's really tough, and that's definitely explored in the story. And of course, Addie goes through things that all children go through, but it is with that focus of what is it like when you're the only one in your class? What does that feel like? And Addie she refuses to see it as a burden or anything negative, and that's quite radical, I think.
And Georgia, if someone's watching this and they're going through a similar experience, what will they take away from this? Because representation like this is so important.
Yeah. I think they'll feel seen. I think that's such an important thing. I think it's normalising the challenges that autistic people go through. We mask, we pretend to be neurotypical, and it burns us out. And we get hyperfixated on things, and we get overstimulated, and to feel seen like that, like that's not happened like on this scale before, and like something like this. So that's just so amazing.
You mentioned that word, we mask, and I want to talk about masking. What is that for people who don't know what that means?
So masking is what a lot of autistic people do to get through the day and be seen as neurotypical. It's not just putting on a brave face, it's not just changing the way you speak, it's a very physical act of suppressing your natural autistic desires and instincts, and it's exhausting. So a lot of autistic children come home from school and they won't even speak. They become completely nonverbal because of masking. And so the show is about how can we take that mask off and celebrate safely who we really are.
And how do you take that mask off?
Oh, it's been 30 years.
How does that work?
I didn't know if you really necessarily like know how to. You just kind of become like the same thing. Like after school, I used to kind of be like exhausted, could never do homework because I'd need like 2 hours to just sit in silence and kind of unwind. We get overstimulated by sound and light, and things that you wouldn't even expect can be quite overwhelming. So to just sometimes sit in silence and just rewind, it is good, but also it's really difficult to know how to kind of get out of that behaviour, especially if you learn to mask. It becomes the thing you learn every behaviour in. So how do you kind of get out of that at the end of the day?
Helps so much take off that mask as well.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity.
And being surrounded by like other neurodivergent women, and you know, not being able to not mask and
yeah. It's been really freeing.
What difference has that made to you then, to not have to mask?
I think it's really allowed me to sort of unlearn certain behaviours that I've like been taught to, you know, present. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of appearing neurotypical to each other, we didn't have to do that. We were ourselves, and
It's quite refreshing.
so refreshing.
And to be in a cast as well,
Yeah.
where, you know, you're working alongside other actors that are also neurodiverse is something I've never experienced before, and it was really, really lovely to have that opportunity so early on in my career as well.
And Elle, talk to us about the commissioning process, because we know these things take a long time, they're quite difficult, lots of meetings, lots of chat. Was that a challenge too, just to get this show made?
Well, I actually want to say not as much as maybe for some other authors. The BBC were so supportive from the jump when I said I want autistic actors. I don't want people pretending to be autistic. I want brilliantly talented, beautiful autistic actors. And the BBC went, yeah, we agree. So or CBBC said, yes, absolutely. And they found these 3 gorgeous people. So it was actually a lot easier than I was expecting in that regard. That was my one sticking point. And the production company 9 Story and the networks said, yes, of course.
How satisfying has that been for you then? Having been through everything you've been through?
It's such a relief, and it's the thing I'm most proud of about this project, that young autistic people are not only going to watch the show and see great mystery and adventure and fun, but they're also going to go, they're like me. I could do that. I could do anything. Those are autistic adults. Those are autistic role models, and that's hugely exciting.
It's been so lovely to talk to you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming in this morning to Elle and to all of you, Lola, Georgia, Caitlin. Thank you. Really look forward to seeing it. All 10 episodes of A Kind of Spark will be on the BBC iPlayer from this Friday. They will air on CBBC from the 17th of April.
Wow, so what do you think? Have you started to watch the series? Does it do justice to the book? If you are neurodivergent, are you happy with the storyline? Let me know in the comments below, and please feel free to drop a like, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching.